Good morning to you all. It is a real honor for me to get to be here and spend some wonderful time with you in groups and also individually. The VS shared the secret with those of us who came to share the first night, or the first, I think it was the first night, the first night, when he called us in his office. The secret he shared was, I am a learner here. Well, we all are. I must confess that I am learning with you and learning about you, about your ministries, about this district, about the wonderful leader that God has given you, his passion for the lost, and for finding ways to reach them, and for equipping ministers to do their ministry is something that we all should appreciate and learn from, and I am learning from that. But thank you for allowing me to be with you and to spend this time in this way. I'm making some new connections, and I appreciate seeing friends from Mexico as well. We had some good times in Mexico. A few times I visited Mexico, and these brothers and sisters are doing a wonderful work in that beautiful, beautiful country, and I praise the Lord for you and what you do, and I'm happy to be taking advantage of this time. But I like to have friends, and I like to make friends when I can. I may not seem to be so friendly, but believe me, I like friends. And I try to be friendly. If I do not look friendly, don't take that for who I am. I really like to make friends. And I have friends from childhood. Some of them, we check in on each other every week. Those who are in the United States, we do so. And I remember now one of them who lives in South Carolina. He's a wonderful Nazarene. He's shorter than me, and we are cousins, but we are friends. And I remember those days as we were growing up in the same village. We did not have all the tools and means we have nowadays for news. And he became our news agent. And he still is, in some ways, my news agent. I go to him for news about the Cape Verdean community, about what is going on the islands, and he knows everything. He shares that with me. But I remember in our village, we would go to a place where the only person in the village who had a radio would tune in BBC. And we would listen to BBC in Portuguese. And BBC, you know, the Big Bell, Big Band is the name. They would, you can hear the bell at the right time, so it would announce the time. And my friend, my little friend, would take his watch, and he would adjust the watch to the right time. Well, nowadays we don't do that. We can turn to Siri and ask Siri, what time is it in Praia? What time is it in Mexico City? What time is it in London? And it tells you. Or you Google, what time is it? It's easier nowadays to know the time. But we all need to know the time. We all want to know what time it is. We want to know what time is it in our ministry. We want to know what time it is in our marriage. What time it is in our life. It is important that we know what the time is. I believe in opportunities that God gives us to do the right thing at the right time. I have the privilege of interviewing ministers when I come to a district for ordination. And what I do is ask them to share a moment in their life when they became fully aware of God's calling on their lives. Or a moment that was significant in their journey with the Lord that changed the course of their lives, their journey, or who means something significant to them. We talk about calling, about marriage, about their conversion, their entire sanctification, all those precious, wonderful moments in their lives. When we think time, we think quantity and quality. We think the time that we can manage, that Siri can help us know about. The time that we have a calendar to help us be aware of. I can have the advantage of having more than one calendar with me. It's not on the wall, I carry it with me. It's with me everywhere I go. And I can have as many calendars as I choose to have. Calendars help us manage our time, and it is important that we learn how to manage our time. In Africa, there is a saying that goes like this: the Westerns have the watch, we have the time. There's a difference there. I don't think it's good to think that way all the time, but we are event-oriented. We like to be where we are and enjoy what's happening, and then, oh yeah, there is the watch, and we have to respect it because other people also have the same time and the same watch, and we're trying to do things together, so we respect that. But the time that we manage is one thing, and the time that God gives us is another thing. And I would like for us to think about those times, those moments that God Himself creates for us. The Apostle Paul wrote to a very busy people in Ephesus. Ephesus was a busy city. Most everyone did some kind of business. Everyone was busy with something. And he wrote and told the church in Ephesus, be very careful how you live. Not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity. Making the most. Not a little, not some, not what you choose, but the most of every opportunity. This is a business language, and he's talking to business people, right? When you are doing business, you know you cannot miss an opportunity. It is important that you do not miss an opportunity. Business people do that. They know that. When it is the right time to do this, they will do it. To enter a market, they will do it. They call it the window of opportunity. What about us in God's business? When we realize God is opening a door, God is opening a window of opportunity, and it is ours. It's ours to enjoy and do what He wants us to do. Saint Augustine, or Augustine, you may not know, he was an African. Out of that. But at a point in time in his life, he was away from the Lord as a young man. His mother prayed and helped him, and he came back. And then he became a saint. We know him as a saint. And he had a lot to say about time. How he wasted his time. And he speaks about God's moments as, if you can imagine, knife edges. When you cut a cake, the knife edge goes in and you do not see it. It is one tiny little thing. You do not see the knife edge. It's in there. And he says, the time that God gives us can be compared to innumerable knife edges in our lives. They may be invisible to others, and even invisible to us. But we sense when God is creating a moment for us, and we do not want to miss those moments. They are precious. They are important. And He prepares us for those moments, doesn't He? It is amazing how we arrive at a moment in our journey and we realize this is what God has been doing in me and preparing me for. Now the business people talk about management of time and we talk about stewardship of time. Is there a difference? Probably. It doesn't seem to be so different, but stewardship of time is different than management of time. Management of time is what we do to manage the time that we believe is ours. It's our time. I can do it this time what I feel like doing. It's my time. And if I'm paid for this time, I know what I'm supposed to do with the time that I'm paid to do something. We manage the time. Stewardship of time, to me, is a different concept. Because I'm a steward of the time that does not belong to me. It's not the time that I manage as mine or as time that I'm paid for. It is God's time. And I like to think of myself as a steward of time. The time that God gives me and the moments that God creates for me. Let me tell you a story. I was flying from Johannesburg to Dakar, Senegal, in West Africa. And I happened to sit by a stranger, which is normal. It happens most of the time when I fly. And the Lord spoke to me and He said, you're going to be in this plane for 9 hours. It was a 9 hours flight from Johannesburg to Dakar in Africa. What are you going to do? Sitting by a stranger. I'm trying to start some conversation here. But he was very I don't know how to describe him. If he was upset with something, it looks like he was. And when you see in someone's face something like that, you try to be careful. You don't want to upset the person more than he or she already is. And before I started talking, he started crying. And I wanted to know why he was crying. Is there something I can do for you? And he was not open at all. They brought food and he would not eat the food. And I tried again. And finally he opened up and he said, I'm crying because my family is behind. I'm a missionary, he said. And I cannot take my family with me. I will be away from my family for 3 years. 3 years. Missionary. I was so grateful for the Church of the Nazarene. I was a missionary. And the church would not do that with me and my family. And I asked him, which church are you serving with? And he said, church? No, I'm a Muslim missionary. And I'm going to the Gambia. Wow. I was going to Dakar for a Muslims conference. We were going to talk about how to reach Muslims for Christ. Well, I wish I could tell you that the Lord helped me lead Mustafa to him. And that he, Mustafa, did. But that didn't happen. However, this deep sense that I am to use the time that God has given me and use it well was there. And I arrived in the car. And sitting next to me was a young man I wanted to get to know a little better. And he told me about himself. He shared about his experience as a former mosque starter to a church planter. What a beautiful story in that young man's life. Passion for the Lord. He would not miss an opportunity to share the gospel. And he left. And I didn't know what was going on, but he left. And then I heard some noise in the kitchen. The kitchen was close to the room where we were having the meeting. I said, these people are making noise, and I need to go there and stop them because they are disrupting what's going on here. And when I arrived in the kitchen, I saw the young man and another man with him. They were praying with a lady who was the cook and was a Muslim. And they are praying because she was giving her heart to Jesus. He would not miss one opportunity. We are stewards of those moments, aren't we? Of the time that God gives us and He tells us that we are to do something about the mission. The Apostle Paul in prison. Imagine Paul in prison. He was not thinking about how many more days he had. He was not counting those days as others would. But he was thinking of the time he would be able to go out free and continue, carry on the mission. And he writes from the prison to the church in Colossae. And he says, when you pray for me, when you think of me, when you use your McDonald's gift card, pray that the door is open for the gospel. He didn't ask pray for the door to be open for me to be out and be there with you for the gospel. If the door opens for me, it will be open so that I share the gospel of Jesus with others. Passion to share the gospel of Jesus. Let me end with another story. We were busy trying to figure out how to go out with the gospel of holiness to North Africa. You know that North Africa is heavily Muslim. And a man came to us and he said, I have a call to minister to the Muslims. He was a Muslim himself. So he had this burden from the Lord. And if the church gives me an opportunity, I will go. And we thought of a strategy. We said, you go. We will send you to choose one of the 3 nations in North Africa. We gave him the names. Go there, see the land, see the people, come back. We will have a plan. We will work with you. We will support you. The church will send you. And he tried, but visa was denied. All 3 embassies denied him visa. So someone came up with the idea of him going to Dubai. Saying, in Dubai, most people get visa without problems. So we sent that man to Dubai. And he went there. And he spent 10 days in Dubai. Every day he went to an embassy and he tried, and he tried, and he tried. And the door was completely open. He was frustrated. The last day, he was going back to the hotel to pack and go. He took a taxi. On the way, he shared Jesus with the taxi driver. He talked with him and he said, is there anything I can pray for in your life? And the taxi driver said, pray for my brother. He's ill back home. And, I make some good money here, but all I do is send money back home to take care of my brother. And so, pray for my brother. And the missionary prayed for the brother of the taxi driver. And they went their way. Following morning, he was called from the reception desk. Come here, there's someone who wants to talk with you. And when he came down, he saw this person he knew, taxi driver. What's going on? Did I leave something in the car? I don't remember leaving anything behind. But he noticed that there was something different in the face of the taxi driver. He had a smile he didn't have the day before. And with him, 4 other men. And they greeted each other. What's going on? And he said, I came here to talk with you. Do you remember last night you prayed for my brother? Yeah. Any news? Yes. I received a call today. And I was told that my brother has been healed. And I asked them when they noticed it, and they told me the time. And that was the time you were praying for my brother. Wow. So I came here because I want to know more about that. Yes, you talked to me about. And right there, Not only he, but his 4 friends, 5 of them gave their heart.
Praise the Lord.
To this day, that missionary didn't make it to North Africa. But his prayer has been that the Lord would use those to go to North Africa. Do not miss an opportunity. Sometimes it's confusing in the midst of all that's happening. What is going on here? Why is this happening? The Lord knows what is going on. He knows what is happening. You just be faithful and do not miss an opportunity. Father, we thank you for those moments in our lives when you are so clear. And even those moments when things are not so clear to us, but you're working and you're opening doors and windows. Help us to be faithful and realize that we are stewards of those moments. In Jesus' name.
Thank you, God.